Thanks very much, everyone, and good afternoon to you all, and welcome to the EWSETA Deep Dive session. A slight amendment of the theme for this afternoon. Our focus is going to be on empowering energy SMMEs for South Africa's just energy transition. What that means in respect to innovation, market access, and skills for scale. I'm Candice Moodley, and I'm the Corporate Services Executive at the EWSETA, and I'll be facilitating the session. The session is really our opportunity to shine a light on 5 of our SMME beneficiaries in a joint EWSETA CSIR energy industry support program that has really yielded tremendous successes for the SMMEs, but of course also for EWSETA and the CSIR. Just to give you a bit of context, firstly, who is EWSETA? So we are the Energy and Water Sector Education and Training Authority. We're one of 21 SETAs in the country, and we're responsible and mandated to facilitate skills development in the energy and water sectors. Now, historically and due to legacy, I suppose when you think of skills development and SETAs, you think of learnerships, you think of learners entering and exiting skills programs, apprenticeship programs, and yes, of course we do that. But I think with the energy transition and the way the sector, especially the energy and water sector, has been moving, we as EWSETA have had to really rethink what skills development and support means, particularly leading to inclusive participation in this growing economy of ours. So not only do we do the traditional forms of skills development, we place a lot of focus on enterprise development and support of the informal sector. And of course, the SMMEs here in front of you is testament to just how EWSETA is doing it differently. Also, in terms of the way the energy sector is transitioning, and you would have heard in various sessions throughout the day in the plenary discussion this morning, it's really accelerating infrastructure deployment across renewable energy, decentralized systems, storage, gas to power, as you've just heard from a previous presenter, grid reform, and emerging technologies. And this means the way we approach SMME support and enterprise development support also needs to change and accelerate with the changing landscape. Because SMMEs today, and I'm sure that the people in front of you will attest to this, SMMEs operate in a very complex environment now. It's technically complex, capital-intensive markets, highly regulated ecosystems, and bankability-driven procurement structures is the order of the day, which pretty much locks out a lot of the SMMEs. So the traditional support used to give SMMEs has changed drastically. What SMMEs actually need today is more around technical validation, product standardization, performance testing, engineering optimization, market access platforms, and so on. So the energy industry support program that we have in collaboration with the CSIR has been specifically designed to address exactly these ecosystem challenges that the SMMEs of today face. So I know that time is limited and I really want to get into questions to our SMMEs. So I'm going to very quickly ask everyone to introduce themselves. Please give your name, surname, your company, and very, very briefly explain what it is your company does. Let's start with you, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa van Benninke, and I'm the founder of LC Dynamics. So we're a clean tech company that produces solar window blinds, and it's meant to be an off-grid solution for people who can't get a traditional solar system. So it's plug and play. You put it behind a window and it uses the sunlight coming through the window to charge DC devices like cell phones, CCTV, Wi-Fi, and other low power devices.
Perfect, thank you.
Hi, my name is Pilar Dichulani from Mpumalanga. I'm representing Solar for Africa. We are a company that develops and manufactures solar thermal products for underserved communities. We have a SolaGeyzer and the solar dehydrator for the underserved communities.
Hello, my name is Ayanam Pomo. I am from Empower Sustainable Energy Initiative, and we develop microgrids for underserved communities.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just had lunch, but I still feel hungry because of the audience, probably the nerves. My name is Chibumo Sikwibiru. I represent a solar company called Lamo Solar. We provide renewable energy solutions for residential, commercial, and industrial clients. The main purpose of our business is to provide energy access to predominantly rural parts of not only South Africa, but also sub-Saharan Africa. We've had to morph quite a bit in the journey of our business, but we'll talk about that and answer some of that in the questions that follow. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yonela Tukwayo. I am not an SME. I'm a researcher at CSIR. I am in the Energy Center. We have a program that has already been explained by Candice, which is the Energy Industry Support Program that we are running in collaboration with the EWSETA, where we're trying to support SMMEs with the necessary technical skills to participate in the energy sector.
Great. Thank you very much to our panelists. And Yonela, let's start with you, actually. Where do you see the biggest gaps between training, innovation, and market demand in terms of SMME support?
Well, the gap, as we see it, lies mainly in the inability of the traditional education system to produce the skills that are needed by the industry. This results in a misalignment between the type of skills or type of education that is offered, as well as the skills that are needed by the industry. We, as countries, we need to ensure that we've got enough skilled workforce to be able to develop, build, operate, as well as maintain the next major energy projects. But to do that, we need a skilled workforce. Therefore, institutions such as the EWSETA or SETAs have an important role in ensuring that there is we close the gap between education policy and the provision of skills. And therefore, in that doing, we ensure that a skills development is aligned with technology development and innovation. Institutions such as the EWSETA also have a role to play in ensuring that education is not just an academic exercise, but it is informed by demand. It is geared towards inclusive growth and development. And in so doing, they need to do initiatives such as supporting SMMEs. In that way, we are able to expand access for new entrants into the energy sector.
Great. Thank you very much. Now, on that, taking that cue, Lisa, let's come to you. How did the Energy Industry Support Program improve product refinement for you, your company? And also, do you feel that this program closed that very gap, that misalignment between the skills that you need based on how the industry is transitioning?
So, yes, I came into the Energy Industry Support Program. I had been incubated by other programs before for business and have had mentors before. I already had a prototype, a demo level prototype. And so when I came in, I really was missing that technical expertise. So I'm at the point now where I'm trying to get a specification done for the market ready products, to put it through all the standards testing, to make sure how I'm manufacturing doesn't affect the performance, and trying to really optimize the final design. And previously in all other programs, I had requested a technical mentor. Nobody was able to get it right until this program, because I feel like EWSETA connected with the correct partner, CSIR, which is kind of a stronghold for technical expertise and knowledge in the country. And they connected me to a mentor who has been manufacturing solar panels for over a decade, who knew every single component in my product. We sat with the spec, we sat and looked at standards. He knew every standard that would apply, and we refined that specification document. He pointed out little points in my design that could affect performance, depending on how I manufactured it. So now I'm not going to the manufacturing process with an unproven design. We looked at it and we refined it before we get to that investment phase. So it was very valuable in a very practical way. And I think it really did do the job of bridging the gap for me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lisa. Piladi, obviously Lisa spoken about design and closing that particular gap, but your experience on testing and performance validation is also, I think, a very important discussion. How did the CSIR testing and performance validation improve your credibility in the marketplace?
It's helped us a lot because it's been plus minus 4 years working on the prototypes, different prototypes, and approaching potential funders, even the market or the targeted market segment. So we've been taking the product out there and testing it with the audience or stakeholders and showcasing it at different exhibitions. But what was missing was that no one, as a company, of course, we believe in our products, but we needed a third party and someone as big as CSIR to validate scientifically validate our products. And it's been great, and it has helped me also understand the technical side of improving the product and even possibly producing other models. So it has been a very rewarding program. And now we are able, once we finalize the validation and the reports from CSIR, we'll be able now to approach funders who were looking for that validation to go to the next step of the funding or potential funding for our business.
Wow, that's exciting. Well done. Okay. Ayanda, let's move on to you. Your company deals a lot with microgrids, smart metering, energy management, etc. So from a technical modeling perspective, what must be completed before a mini grid becomes bankable? And how did this program with CSIR assist you in that regard?
For a mini grid to become bankable, the technology really needs to make sense. The skills that are required are engineering-based and finance, because you have to finance each project. On the engineering side, you need to know your solar irradiation. You need to understand the land mass that you're working with, so understand which solutions can fit into the area that you have. You also need to understand battery sizing. You know how that's part of modeling, by the way. So if there is a cloudy day or multiple cloudy days, will the battery carry you through? So there's a lot of technical modeling that's involved, and that then speaks into how much power you produce, which becomes what you then sell. And that's when the financial modeling comes into the picture. So for bankability, it's always about the money. Does this make sense? And to understand if that financial investment for the microgrid or the mini grid makes sense, you need to know how much energy you're going to be producing from the sun. So yeah, that's what makes a project bankable.
Okay, great, thank you. Now moving on to a long-term partner of EWSETA. I mean, Shavumo and his company Lamo Solar has come a long way with EWSETA. And you've grown over the years. I mean, you've indicated that you've gone from a small business and have actually grown into a medium-sized business as a result of some of the support that EWSETA has provided. So I think in terms of asking this particular question, you would be the most appropriate, I think, person to direct it to. In a crowded solar market, what would you say have been the biggest scaling barriers that an SMME faces?
Thank you so much, Candice, for that question. I think it goes without any shadow of doubt that scaling for a from small to medium EPC firm like ours in the renewable energy market has got absolutely nothing to do with the amount of demand that there is. So the demand is very strong for solar. However, access to capital and performance guarantees have proven to be quite a bottleneck for SMEs within the renewable energy sector. And I think with a long-term view, we need to start thinking of how to introduce perhaps structured blended finance options for entities similar to our ones that are operating in this very competitive market, so that we can compete with the bigger guys. That is, I think, the one barrier that could bring about a lot more competitiveness within the space, because, the skills are there, the zeal and zest to provide long-term meaningful solutions is there. But there are structural barriers, such as the ones that I've mentioned, which make it a huge impediment to compete with the bigger guys. I mean, I don't have anything to my name. So once I have to put up performance guarantees for systems, it becomes a bit of a challenge.
Right. So what would a ideal blended finance model look like in your mind?
I think we need to, we can think quite wildly about this. So at inception, when we started our business, the intention was to provide renewable energy or access to electricity in predominantly rural parts of South Africa. Now, there's already there a mismatch between the intended beneficiaries and the technology that we're bringing. So they can't quite afford the technology that would then be proposing for the intended beneficiaries. And some of the wild ideas that we've kind of thought about is how to use, even in the wildest of cases, livestock as guarantees. So if you've got if you've got 5 cattle and you want to get access to electricity, and the 5 cattle are worth 5,000 rand a piece, how am I able to use your 5 cattle as a guarantee that you will ultimately pay off the system that I would have provided to you at no more than, say, 30,000, 40,000 rands? That is creative and wild, but it is how deep we need to go if we really are hell-bent at providing access to electricity to those that we say cannot afford it through the traditional means. So there are many other, we just need to look back to what bartering actually is and its definition, and find innovative ways around that.
And bring it back to the South African contextual environment, right? You can't cut and paste international best practice finance models to a South African rural context.
Correct.
Let's think more innovatively and contextually to how we support our local SMMEs in the sector. Great, I love that point. You spoke quite eloquently about the misalignment, I think, between the skills ecosystem and energy innovation. So for you, what does proper alignment look like between energy innovation and the skills ecosystem?
Okay, thanks, Candice, for that question. That properly aligned system looks like a set of deliberate, collaborative network of stakeholders where there is synergy between technology development, policy development, as well as human capital development. And then these stakeholders are moving together in a shared vision to ensure that new technology development is done at the same time while we are simultaneously skilling the workforce to be able to deploy the new technologies. And that is something we're trying to do with the collaboration between the EWSETA and CSR, which is the Energy Industry Support Program, where we're trying to make sure that with the new technologies that must be coming up, that we can see to the IRP, how our SMEs allowed or enabled to effectively participate in this industry. So yeah, it looks like an alignment between different stakeholders in summary.
Great. Thank you. I like that vision, and hopefully we are moving towards that with this program. But I think obviously there's ways always to improve and expand what we're trying to do as I suppose entities in government from a post-school education perspective, but also from a research and innovation and development perspective.
Absolutely.
Coming back to you, Lisa. So do you think that our institutions, our post-school education institutions like our universities and particularly our TVET colleges, are currently accelerating innovation, or that they have the capability to accelerate innovation, that it's even central to their skills development strategies? And if they're not doing it, do you feel that that's a detriment to where we need to go to as a country?
Thank you for that question. I think there is definitely a lot of work being done in TVET institutions now. Personally, I've worked with TUT, with the Technology Stations program, and there are a lot of the universities of technologies that have these programs for different technologies. So they helped me build the demo level prototype, which is my second prototype that I have here today at the exhibition. And they will offer you the skills, the equipment, and basically whatever you will need to build that prototype to a better level, to a better technology readiness level. But further than that, actually on the TVET level, there's companies like Ellen Gray Foundation that is trying to champion the same thing within TVET, within the TVET landscape. So they run innovation competitions for the TVET colleges. They brought me in 1 year as a mentor. So you get to speak to people who are doing the startup thing and get really honest feedback and accounts of what it's like and advice on how to do it. And I think they're trying to set up at least one personnel or staff member within the TVET colleges who can champion student entrepreneurship and student innovation. So having that person in an institution definitely makes a difference. That person's always looking for opportunities that they can enter students into. They also kind of look after the entrepreneurs and innovators within the institution, and they will also build more programs. So if they can build a lab like the TUT has, they do it. So you do need a champion within these institutions to get it as big as it is in the higher education institutions.
Absolutely, but you also need buy-in from private sector, I think, where the funding is, to capacitate our TVET colleges to build these innovation labs and really put a focus on developing the innovation and the skills and the entrepreneurial skills that we need. And I'm really pleased that in SONA, the president really focused on TVET capacitation as a key focus for education and training, which is absolutely critical. I think TVETs are really at the heart of our technical growth and the energy transition, actually. So thanks for that, Lisa. There's things you mentioned that I wasn't aware of, but now I know. Fantastic. Pilati, manufacturing is really, I think, core to how, as a country, we are going to industrialize and localize, and it's very much part of SAREM, the South African Renewable Energy Master Plan, in terms of growing our manufacturing capabilities locally. Even the minister spoke about it at his keynote address. Do you believe manufacturing itself is a good youth learning platform?
Yes, definitely, and that's why I got into developing and then manufacturing these type of products, because I'm from Mpumalanga, and most of that economy, well, there's a lot of unemployment there, especially for the youth. It's got a generally young population, and there isn't that many opportunities there, whether it's employment or furthering studies. So manufacturing, I think it can be a way to create jobs, to also introduce rural youth, especially, to industrialization through manufacturing. And I think in places, like I said, like in Mpumalanga, those type of provinces where we depend a lot on agriculture, but most of that agricultural equipment also, especially for processing, is imported. So if we can start getting unemployed youth, or even tertiary level youth, to be more engaged or introduce more to manufacturing locally instead of relying on imports, I think we can overcome many of the challenges we have in Mpumalanga and everywhere else. And not only for my province, but also the neighboring countries. I think we're all struggling with manufacturing or industrializing rural communities or small towns. So it's definitely a motivation for me to keep doing this.
Fantastic. So that's pretty encouraging. Ayanda, let's get down to the facts. Partnerships is critical, right? If SMMEs want to scale, they need partnerships, they need investment, they need collaboration. What kind of partnerships will work for SMMEs in the sector, and particularly for your particular company, for you to scale right now?
Financial institutions would help a lot. My colleague just mentioned now about credit. Energy is very expensive. Energy infrastructure is very expensive. So if we could find blended finance options, even grant funding, because what we're essentially trying to do is get people out of energy poverty. And the truth is, a lot of those people can't even afford electricity, because we are offering it to people who are still using firewood, to cook, who still put on candles to have the lights. Those people actually don't have the pockets deep enough to afford renewable energy. And this is where development finance needs to now come in, right, and actually develop the country by offering its citizens energy. Those partnerships would go a long way, not only for the SMMEs, but for the people that we're trying to help who are experiencing energy poverty.
Okay, I'm not sure if I've seen any financial institution stands around here. I don't know if you've walked around and seen any ABSA banks or net banks. They're pretty big in energy and stuff, but it's clearly a gap here. So we need to highlight that to the organizers, because definitely I think there's many more SMMEs on the floor right now in the same boat as yourself, and connecting that way would. I used to see Standard Bank. They used to have a very big stand here at one stage, and ABSA, not sure if they're around this year, but point to note. Shivuma, let's conclude with a question, not conclude per se, but with you, to ask you, how has EWSETA support strengthened your enterprise systems and workforce readiness?
Can I have 30 minutes for this question?
We've got 2 minutes, because I also want to find out if there's any questions from the audience.
So I could go on all day and possibly night explaining exactly the contributions that the EWSETA has had to our business, but perhaps with the limited time that we have this afternoon, I would be wasting time doing that. I think everyone's presence here simply means they have an interest in knowing what the Energy and Water SETA does, and therefore I'd be preaching to the converted. But when we had our first interaction with the Energy and Water SETA in 2017, I remember vividly, we were at a time. It was at a time when we were servicing the residential market, not so much commercial and industrial. But as fate and of course by the blessings of God would have it, we found ourselves scaling to install systems that were far much larger than what we had traditionally or previously done. In fact, we're installing our first megawatt solar plant in 2017. And concurrent to that, we were fortunate enough to be offered an opportunity to train 60 people, young graduates, unemployed graduates, through what is known as the Work Integrated Learning Training Program by the Energy and Water SETA. And just to summarize what this looks like, you get 60 interns that are graduates who are unemployed, and you are able to employ them within your company so that you can transfer skills, essentially design, operation, maintenance, and installation of solar facilities. We were fortunate enough to recruit those 60 people. And parallel to that, we had a project of installing a megawatt solar plant. I must put it on record that of the 60, 40 of them were women, young women. And they went on to assist us greatly in installing the system. And so naturally, that cut our cost driver, which would be labor, quite substantially. But in the process of teaching, and some of you who may have been volunteers in your previous lives or currently, in the process of trying to impact someone's life, you very quickly realize that it is your life that gets impacted the most. So we began to learn as we were teaching. And today I can, firmly say we are a fully compliant, very safe in its installation, very forward-thinking in its nature, EPC. And this opportunity has been only realized by having worked with all of these brilliant young minds who also taught us a thing or two in how to do our work better. So we can't thank you enough, and everybody else from the Energy and Water Sector. Thanks.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. It's learning both ways that matters. And I'm so glad that as a company, you've managed to scale and grow and do some really great projects. And of course, to all the SMMEs, we hope that your growth just goes higher and higher. Obviously, EWSETA is one partner. There are many, I'm sure, that will come your way. I know time is up. I'm going to ask if there are any questions that anybody from the floor would like to ask our SMMEs about their experience, about lessons learned. There's a question up front here. And then I'm going to very quickly ask for 10-second closing remarks from the panel. But for now, I'm going to take 2 to 3 questions if there are any. This lady in up front here. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. My question is posed to Madam from Mpumalanga. You said, firstly, congratulations on having tapped into the sector that has previously been known as a male dominant. My question is, thus far being the forward driver of the project, what has been the challenges that you could have received maybe from the outsider male part of it who wanted to be part of you, hence you still wanted to be at the forefront? If there has been, what has been the challenges and how did you manage to overcome them? Thank you.
I think you can go ahead, Pilaria. Okay.
I thank you for the question. The most challenging part of this journey, firstly, is being a woman in manufacturing, especially from rural areas, because it's still, it's male driven. Everything is male driven there. And defending or, pushing my idea. So that's been the most difficult thing. But how I've overcome it is by partnering or asking for guidance and mentorship with places like CSIR and EWSETA, and then also the universities. We also work alongside the Northwest University, their solar thermal department. So just continually doing these programs, business and personal development programs, they mold you into a business person that can overcome or find solutions from the stakeholders that you work with. So that's how I handle most of the challenges.
Thank you very much. Any other questions in absence of a question? Oh, ma'am.
Good day, everyone. My name is Vukona, and my question is to anyone. I would like to know, how do you become a part of this program? And if there's an application or a type of selection, how do you set up yourself then to be chosen? Because I believe a whole lot of companies would want to be part of this. Then how do you stand out to be chosen?
Thank you. I think maybe Yonela is the best person to answer this.
Thank you, ma'am. To apply for the program, there is nothing special that you need to do. We have different types of programs within the one program. There's one that is aimed at capacity development. That one is designed for anyone who is doing any kind of business but is interested in maybe going into the energy sector. And then you apply for the capacity building program. We then host you at CSIR for a period of a week where we give you general knowledge of the different technologies that exist within South Africa's energy sector, what you need to do in terms of enterprise development opportunities, what the enablers, policy enablers and barriers that you might find out. And then we take you through the different labs that exist at CSIR for you to experience first in hand what does a How is the solar PV done? How does it look like? How does the solar PV look like? If you've never seen an electric vehicle in your life, we take you on a ride on one. Basically, that one is just to give you general understanding of the energy industry. But if you are somebody who's already in the energy sector, but maybe you are developing an innovation or a product such as the one Pilar is working on, but you lack technical skills in terms of perfecting what you're working on, and you wanted to move it to the next phase in terms of now getting access to markets and finance, we'll then apply for the technical incubation program, where we pair you up with a technical expert at a CSIR. If you say, for example, you want to, let's say, do a solar, you are interested in solar PV installation, we'll pair you with an expert at CSIR in solar PV. They'll mentor you for a period of about 12 months, give you all the skills that you need. You meet for about once or twice in a month. So in summary, I hope I've answered your question. You don't have to do anything special. You just need to be a small, medium, micro enterprise.
And you have specific windows in terms of calling to the sector for participation. Is there another window coming up, or where and when about might that be?
Yes, this is a 5-year project. We take cohorts each year. So in this year, we are about to start with the 4th cohort. The applications were open between the 5th of January and close on the 9th of February, unfortunately. But there is the next cohort happening next year. The applications again will be open. Look at the CSR's website for applications. They'll be open between around December to the end of January.
Maybe this is a heads up to follow EWSETA on social media as well. Yes. And you will also post it there when the time comes. Very quickly, I'm probably taking liberties now because I'm told we're the last presentation. We've got interviews. Okay, very quickly, 2 seconds. I lie, not 2 seconds, but at least 10 seconds each. I think in closing, it's very clear that SMMEs are not peripheral to the national energy transition. You are major contributors to that transition. Closing remarks in 10 seconds. Lisa, go.
I think that programs like this are important, and we need more, and more people need to know about them, because there's probably other SMMEs that definitely need the support.
Great.
Yeah, like we've been talking that working with organizations like these, they help to give credibility to your projects or your products, and also to to give confidence of your products to your targeted market. So it's very important to do these programs.
My closing remarks is that energy affects everyone, and there are people in lower income communities who really suffer from not having it. They experience energy poverty, and everyone should make an effort to try to alleviate that as best as they can.
I think individual brilliance is a thing of the past. I think if we want to respond to the challenges that currently face South Africa, which is the triple challenge of inequality, poverty, and unemployment, it will require a collective effort. And so you can't do it in a silo. Let's open up and work together to do better.
Closing remarks for me is to just maybe remind everyone that at CSIR, my colleagues and I are passionate about skills development, SME development, and innovation. And we are forever looking for ways to ensure that there's alignment in those 3 fields. And we are very grateful for the collaboration with EWSETA so that we can be able to see that is realized.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Closing remarks from EWSETA is that we remain committed to driving inclusive economic participation and support of our SMME and informal sector. And we are here at stand F15 if you'd like to meet us and talk more about how we could possibly assist you. But also if you'd like to meet some of our SMMEs, they're also exhibiting at our stand. So please do come past, visit us, and hear more about EWSETA and the services we offer and the value we can bring to your business, or to how we can capacitate you in your own individual capacity. So thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of the session here at Africa Energy Indaba. Thank you to our SMMEs.